Hello YouTube, how's it going? Matt here, and like the title of this video suggests, we are going to be changing the cab mounts on this 61 F100. We'll also be doing the floorboards and the lower hinge pillars. I got a nice little package from Carolina Classics with I think pretty much everything we're going to need for this truck. I've already pulled the front clip off. Got the motor out, got the trans out. But if you look down here, it's got the typical, at least typical for this part of the country, the Midwest, floor rot. This step side's not bad, the other side's pretty rough. But just in the cab corner area, cab mount area, yeah, they're pretty well gone. Probably gonna have to do some rocker work too and stuff like that. So. Yeah, so let's drag the truck out and let's get started. Now, one thing you've probably noticed by now is that this is a unibody truck, which complicates things a little bit when it comes to the cab mounts. You can't just undo, the 4 bolts and pop the cab off and replace the cab mounts from there. So what I'm going to attempt to do here is replace the cab mounts with the body on. I've seen some people online asking if it can be done and stuff, and I don't know. We're just going to find out and see. Yes, sir. I came down here to get some PB blaster on these cab bolts and nuts, and I figured I'd show you what I'm working with. As you can see here, that cab mount is just gone, and it looks like I'll have to do some inner rocker patching and stuff like that, but yeah, and the other side's no better. Okay, got the body separated from the frame using a shop crane. Probably not the best way to go about it, but pretty much all that was available to me. But in the process of doing that, one of the cab mounts, or what's left of it, just fell out. So we're gonna start cutting out the floor and then getting ready to do these lower hinge pillars and then attaching the cab mount. Looks like I'll have enough room to work with. Just kind of test fitting these floor pans here and put them in to check. And I gotta say, I've never seen floor pans that are just so accurate right off the bat. These being from Carolina Classics. I mean, they just fit right in. Everything seems to be where it needs to be. And I've done a lot of floor pan work on Mustangs, and some of the stuff you get from those companies, you got to do a lot of tweaking to it. But looks like this is already perfect. Okay, so the floor pan is out, and it's become apparent that this area here, where the pillar is, where the cab mount meets the body, is going to need a lot of patching. Looks pretty rough. Also, the area there behind the wiper fluid pump, gonna need to cut that out and patch that too. Okay, got the new floorboard in. Still got to patch that little area there. Alright, so now I've cut out the lower hinge pillar here, and I'm replacing that because it just makes sense to me, if these are just a little bit aged or rotted, that you would want to replace them, because the cab mount mounts right here on the other side, and the stronger this area is, the better, really. At least that's my thinking. And they were bad anyways. But yeah, basically just what I've done is made a template off the hinge of the door, and basically just keep going and fitting and trimming, and always epoxy prime the back side. It's always helpful to do that, to remember to do that, so you don't have to come here and do this again in a few years. But yeah, so let's get these in. For those of you that might be curious as to what welder I'm using, it's just the Lincoln Electric 210 MP. It'll do either 110 or 220. It's a great welder. Makes for some good welds. I had a couple welders. I started with Harbor Freight and just had issues, and flux core, and ended up going with this. If I had to do it all over again, I just would have started with this and saved myself the hassle. But yeah, it's a good welder, especially for stuff like this. One thing I did want to mention about these cab mounts is obviously you'll primer and protect the inside of this before installation, but even installation is going to take some tweaking. No cab is perfect, so you'll have to do a little tweaking here and there just to get a nice snug fit. So let's go ahead and install our first cab mount. Okay, so we have our cab mount welded in, and I've lowered it a little to check for positioning and everything. And these cab mounts from Carolina Classics don't come pre-drilled, so you will have to drill your hole. You can see I drilled my hole corresponding to the floorboard. It's sitting a little farther forward because the body shifted a little forward when I jacked it up from the front. So it'll just be a matter of sliding it back a little bit, and everything should line up just perfectly. Alright, so the driver's side is done. Cab mount is welded in, and I went ahead and added new steel all in there, kind of boxed it in and add more strength since that's right where the cab mount is. But yeah, looks pretty good, feels very solid. The lower hinge pillar is in as well. Okay, getting ready to start on the passenger floor, and this floor pan. Once again, these Carolina Classic pans, I'm impressed. Fits right in, hole lines right up. I mean, even right there, it seems perfect. I'll show you what I do with these is I just go around and trim. They leave a little excess. If I was just to weld that in, you can see it stick up and everything. So basically just cut those down and make it a little more seamless. Okay, got this floor knocked out, and as you can see, that cab mount is a little worse for the wear. A little overdue. Okay, patching up and putting in new steel. There's some 10 gauge, and for the cab mount to mount to, because that was rusted out. Also gonna have to replace right up in here. And for those of you who are curious about what I'm doing with the rust that I'm not cutting out, that I'm welding to, I just grind off the rust, and whatever rust is left over, I use this Permatex rust treatment. I let that sit for 24 hours and then paint over it with the Pour 15. It's really good stuff, and that's also what I put on the underside and of cab mounts and the back side of any of the plate steel that I put in. One thing to make mention of on these cab mounts, it seems like on the passenger side you will have to trim the lip of the cab mount there. You can see it was done on the original just to clear that floor pan. You don't have that on the driver's side. It's a little different on the passenger side. So a little bit of this will have to be trimmed. Alright, the cab mounts are attached and the body is now sitting on the frame. So that answers the question on some of the forums that I saw, people asking if these cab mounts can be, the unibody cab mounts, be replaced with the body still on the frame. Technically it wasn't on the frame, it was jacked up a little, but there was plenty of room to work with, and I think it also could have been done with the fender and inner fender attached. I just took those off because I was redoing the engine anyways, and I was going to clean up this firewall. So that answers that question. It's epoxy coated. These the cab to frame mounting kit is for 61 through 64 non-unibody, because I couldn't find any unibody ones. They do work. So there's that information. So looking back, I think I still would have been able to do this with the fender, inner fender and outer fender attached, and with the transmission and motor in. Really wasn't too bad of a job. I wasn't pinched for room or anything like that. So I think even with those attached, it really wouldn't have been a huge undergoing. We've got the floors in. I've epoxied this side. I haven't on that side yet. So, and let me know in the comments if you want to see more of this truck in the progress. If you guys want to see more of it, then yeah, I'll certainly be happy to do more videos. I'm going to be doing a lot more over the winter. Engine, trans. Going to do sheet metal work. Next plan of attack is to cut this bed out. You can see that it's got the typical Iowa bed in it. So figure going to cut it out and then do a better structure than the torque box anyway. Alright, that's going to do it for this video, the cab mount video. Please let me know if you want to see more. I'll be happy to record more. Got a long ways to go on this truck, obviously. And if you own one of these trucks, specifically 61 through 66 F100, check out the Slick 60s forum online. Great people, a lot of knowledge. Very happy to be there. I'm on there every morning. I wake up with my coffee and I get on there and just bum around on there for a while and then get to work on this thing. So anyways, see you next time.